I've told this story before in another context. I did a Twitter thread about it not long ago, but I realized that there are certain myths, and as a student of myth and storytelling and religious history, I'm very interested in these things. My name is Shannon B. Douglas. This is While We Were Asleep, and I'm talking about some of the toxicities of wokeism. Traveling across Canada over the next 4 weeks. I've been on the road for 10 days now in Vancouver and on Vancouver Island, and in a couple of days I'm heading north to Prince Rupert via the Inside Passage, and then I'll be working my way across the country. I'm telling stories as I go, putting up daily videos, and today I'm putting up a video about the vampire story. Now, the vampire story connects to what's happening with woke ideology. It also connects to my own experience growing up that I've talked about in other videos of being in an abusive family dynamic, where there was addiction and there was physical and psychological abuse and there was denial and there was enabling and there was a scapegoat and there was a lost child and there was a golden child who could do no wrong. Those patterns play out at scale, and the principal abuser in my environment was the narcissist. Narcissists very rarely get diagnosed, so I can't say this person was a narcissist, but let's say they exhibited patterns and behaviors that were significantly correlatable or relatable to the DSM diagnosis of a cluster B personality disorder, covert narcissism. Now, the narcissist is such a dangerous figure that over the course of human history, we've invented stories or created stories that encapsulate the dynamic, stories of horror. And I believe that the narcissist is encapsulated or mythologized in the vampire myth. And some other people have talked a little bit about this. I've heard James Lindsay make reference to the vampire archetype. So, narcissists have a problem with boundaries. Let's start there, because when we invite them into our houses, we lower our boundaries and our defenses. And in the vampire stories, you're just not supposed to do that. And there's some magical property that the vampire has, or that the individual who holds a boundary like that can establish, that prevents the vampire from coming into the house. You guard the windows and the doors, and you make sure that the vampire doesn't come in, because if you let them in, you're in big trouble. Now, when the vampire comes into your life, like a narcissist, they're superficially charming, almost hypnotic. And they can love bomb people. They can draw them into their fantasy worlds, into their schemes. And they prey on people's vulnerabilities, people's either willingness to rescue a victim, because vampires can play that role as, I've been abused and persecuted, and I'm and people don't understand me, and only you do. And they establish this relationship that is manipulative. And at the beginning of the relationship, they love bomb and they reward their targets, their victims. Then they take a little bite, right? Just a little bite. And that bite kind of deepens the trance or deepens the spell of the vampire's victim. And they become something of a minion, and the vampire uses them as snacks. So they won't drain them completely of life, where they might destroy other people in the environment. They won't drain their immediate victim of supply, which is a term for narcissistic reward, or the life force of their victim, the blood. They won't drain them completely. They take little bites at a time, and increasingly they take more and more and more until the individual is completely drained and devoid of their own personality. This is how an abusive individual, man or woman, insinuates themselves into the lives of their victims. Now, vampires have a couple of properties. One property is that they don't cast a shadow or a reflection in the mirror. Now, what does that mean? Well, a person who can't see their own reflection in the mirror is a person who's not accountable. So we think of Donald Trump as probably the most recognizable narcissist that we've seen in the world. in some time, zero responsibility and zero accountability. Right? He's got people in his environment who he's draining of supply, and people, by extension, who he can totally destroy, and he gets his pleasure from this, and pumps himself up on the misery that he creates in others, and can't see themselves in the mirror. There's no way to hold a vampire accountable to show them what they're doing. They deny it. They gaslight it. They shift blame. They reverse the order of victim and offender. They abuse the people who are asking accountability from them, by claiming that they're being abused. Vampires are great victims, professional victims. So what's another aspect of this vampire story? Well, vampires have minions, right? They convert other people into their narcissistic ways and behaviors. They make other vampires, or they empower others to behave the same way. And so you get vampires at scale. And those minions create other minions, and it spreads like a virus. How do you kill a vampire? Well, one of the ways is with light, sunlight. And in the language of myth and metaphor, light is truth. So we can't expose the vampire to their reflection in the mirror because they don't cast one. They deny it completely. But light, ultimately, truth and accountability will destroy them in the myths and stories. Now, there are other aspects of the vampire that I'm missing. And I'm sure you may find them. I have written this out at length, and I'm kind of going from memory talking about this. And maybe you have some ideas about other ways in which the vampire myth is actually an account of dangerous narcissism as it takes hold, either in a small group, like a family, like a narcissistic abuser, or at the scale of Vlad the Impaler, or Donald Trump, or wokeism. Wokeism is extremely narcissistic. It has identified targets. It has people that it has co-opted into its narrative. It doesn't have any capacity for self-reflection, does not cast reflection in the mirror. Any questioning of this ideology becomes abuse. You know, if you don't agree that you're a racist, it means you're a racist. Everything is smoke and mirrors and illusions, and they bring you in with a hypnotic language structure, a brainwashing technique called a double bind, and a serious enough double bind that when combined with social pressures really creates, it indoctrinates people, but it creates an unconscious level of stress that's very, very hard to cope with. So diversity, equity, and inclusion people come and they knock on the door. Hi, we're the anti-racist police. We're the diversity consultants. We're here to make sure that you're not racist. Can we come in and do an assessment on your business to make sure that you're not racist and help you be less racist? And so what's the correct answer to this? Well, there is none. It's a double bind. Business owner says, well, I think we're okay. And then the diversity consultant says, oh, I guess you're a racist. And then if you say, okay, well, yeah, I'm a conscientious business owner, and we have people from all walks of life working in my business. Come on in and let's, do your assessment. And I'm interested in what you have to say. And the diversity consultant comes in. And you let them in the fucking door, okay? The diversity consultant comes in, looks around. I'm sorry to say, you're a racist organization, and you need diversity consultants to come in here to establish proper protocols so that we can assess all the racist things happening in your environment and help you fix them. You want to fix your racism, don't you? There's another double bind. And in the diversity trainings that are being imposed in universities and workplaces all over now, this double bind is part of the indoctrination process. Everybody's a racist. If you react to that, if you look at the work of Robin DiAngelo, any kind of emotional signals is white fragility. Over-eagerness to adopt this would be white fragility and a symbol of systemic racism. Well, sitting in silence would be interpreted as racism. Getting up and leaving would be interpreted as racism. Asking questions would be interpreted as racism. There's no way to win the game. It's a double-bind, psychically manipulative, hypnotic trance, and as soon as you start playing that game, the vampire's taking a little bite. And then they'll take a bigger bite, and a bigger bite. There's a reason why we have these kinds of stories that have been passed down for centuries and centuries about these types of monsters, because human beings play these games over and over again. My name is Shannon B. Douglas. This is While We Were Asleep. Make sure you like and subscribe.